He is out with a new report on autism and how the pandemic affected diagnoses and rates. Our 9 News health expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, joins us to discuss this a little bit further this morning. Good morning, Dr. Kohli.
Good morning, Jordan.
All right, so I love to talk about this. So let's ask that autism, what is that and exactly how is it diagnosed?
Yeah, autism is a complex developmental disorder. So it's basically problems with communication, verbal and nonverbal, problems with social development, and sometimes repetitive behaviors. And because of what it actually is, it's very difficult to diagnose. So there's no blood test, there's no brain test, there's really no way to diagnose it with one single test. It's more about looking at the entire spectrum of a child's development, seeing how it's progressing, and then diagnosing it. So it requires a lot of in-person interaction with the child.
Okay, which brings me to my next question, because obviously over the past few years, and I think you know where I'm going with this, something that took away that in-person interaction was the pandemic. It was all virtual at that time. How much harder did that make diagnosing autism?
Significantly harder. So we were seeing this amazing, great trend in increased diagnosis. Now, some people say we were increasing diagnoses because we were looking more for it, which is the positive thing, right? Diagnosing it early is incredibly important. So up until the pandemic, till February of 2020, we were seeing an increase in the number of autism diagnoses. And then as soon as that pandemic hits, we see a dramatic decrease in the evaluations for autism as well as the diagnosis of it.
So how do you go about diagnosing certain demographics?
Yeah, and that's been a real challenge because if you look at, Asian kids, Hispanic kids, or Black kids, only the ones who had some other developmental disability were actually getting diagnosed with autism. So we were missing a bunch. But now we're seeing for the first time ever, and this is really positive news, that the rates have been the highest, even more so than white children. And we're not sure exactly what caused that shift. We think it's more of an awareness in the fact that, autism really crosses racial boundaries. It's something that's much more prevalent than we know. It's 1 out of 36 kids will be diagnosed with autism. Boys are 4 times as likely as girls to be diagnosed for reasons we don't understand. But it's something that we've started looking for, so now we're finding. So it's really incredible.
And that's exactly it. It's kind of about raising visibility for this very thing. In fact, I noticed you're wearing a lot of blue today.
Yeah.
Is that on purpose?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's really nice because I want parents to start to look for it, because the earlier we diagnose it, Jordan, the better the prognosis, because that's when you can really get the kids connected into the resources, into the language therapy, to the speech therapy, to the socialization, and really give them the tools that they need to try to cope and live alongside this condition. And, one thing that a lot of people have said is that, it's because of all the vaccines that we're having higher rates of autism. So I want to be very clear about that, because the science, is really, really clear about this, that vaccines do not cause autism. All
right. Well, I want to ask really quickly, we just have a few seconds left, but if you're a parent at home watching this right now, and you may suspect that this is something your child is dealing with, what do you recommend for them?
So first, the things to look out for, are they missing their milestones? So that's a really important thing, and that's the social milestones, as well as the language milestones, as well as the developmental milestones. So if the answer to any of that is yes, that is your sort of rough screen that you probably need to take them into your pediatrician, your family medicine doctor, to have a formal screen to see whether or not they meet the criteria for autism spectrum disorder. Because the earlier you catch it, the more likely you are to help them, and the more likely they are to sort of plug into those resources.
And one way you're going to catch it is by us having these conversations. You got to know about it. Dr. Kohli, thank you. We appreciate it. Let's get a check of your forecast now.